Hello everyone, I'm Shruti Vijayavargi from BISP Solutions. Uh, my topic is Excel financial function, and in my previous video I discussed about some of investment value functions. In my previous video I discussed FV, FV schedule and NPV, and in this video I'm showing you the use of PV received and XNPV function. So the first function is the present value function. Present value, also called PV function. Present value is a formula used in finance that calculates the present day value of an amount that is received at a future date. The premise of the equation is that there is time value of money. The time value of money is the concept that receiving something today is worth more than receiving the same item at a future date. So the presumption is that it is preferable to receive $100 today than it is to receive the same amount 1 year from today. But what if the choice is between $100 present day or $106 a year from today? So we require a formula to provide a quantifiable comparison between an amount today and an amount at a future time in terms of its present day value. So in this video, we'll see how present value function or PV function in Excel works. So the original formula of PV calculation is PV equals to FV 1 plus R to the power n, where FV is the future value, R is the rate of return, and n is the number of periods. But in Excel, Excel provide us a formula to calculate PV, which takes 5 arguments. First one is the rate. It is the rate of interest. It is the rate of interest per period. Second one is the NPER. It is the number of periods for the lifetime of the annuity or investment. PMT is an optional argument that specifies the payment per period. If the PMT argument is omitted, the FV argument must be supplied. Next we have FV, which stands for future value. It is also an optional argument that specifies the future value of the annuity at the end of NPR payments. If the FV argument is omitted, it takes on the default value 0. Next we have the type argument. It is also an optional argument and that defines whether the payment is done at the start or at the end of the period. The type argument can have two values, 0 or 1, where 0 represents the end of the period and the 1 represents the payment is done at the beginning of the period. And also note that if the type argument is omitted, it takes on the default value of 0 and it denotes payments made at the end of the period. So let's go with the example. I have a Excel PV function. So in this example, we are calculating PV for an annuity that pays $1,000 per month for a period of 5 years, and the interest is 5% per year, and each payment is done at the end of the month. So the PV will be calculated by selecting the cell first, then type an equal sign, write the function, left parenthesis, then first pass the rate. So here rate is 5% per year, but the payment is done per month. So we have to divide 5% with 12 so that it is converted into a monthly rate of interest. So 5% divided by 12. Next we have NPR, which is the number of periods, and here is the number of periods of 5 years. The payment is done for 5 years and the payment also done in months, so we have to convert 5 years into month. So 5 will be multiplied by 12 and it becomes 60. Next we have the PMT, which is the payment per period, and the payment is done of $100,000. So I write 1000. As the future value is 0 and the payment is done at the end of the month, so the FV and type arguments can be omitted from the buffer from this function. So write parenthesis and then enter. So this is the PV value, present value for an investment of $1,000 per month. And also it should be noted that the initial payment is paid out. This payment is paid out. So the calculated present value is negative cash amount. Okay. So the use of PV function is has a broad range of uses and may be applied to various areas of finance, including corporate finance, banking finance, and investment finance. So next we have received function. The received function returns the amount to be received by an investor at maturity for a totally invested security amount. Okay, so totally invested security amount, we use received function. The actual calculation of this formula is received equals to investment divided by 1 minus discount into DIM divided by V, where DIM is the number of days from issue to maturity. So we have to calculate first DIM, and B is the number of days in a year depending on the year basis. So the Excel provides us a formula for received, and it does take 5 arguments. First is the settlement date, where settlement is a required argument and it is the date at which the security is sold to the buyer, or we can say it is the date that the coupon is purchased. Next we have the maturity date. It is also a required argument and it is the date at which the security expires, and we can say that it is the date that the coupon expires. Third argument is the investment. It is also in required argument and it is the amount that is invested as security. The fourth argument is the discount. It is also in required argument and it is the discount rate given for the security. And next we have the basis argument. It is an optional argument and it is the value that specifies what type of day count basis to use. So the basis refers the way that you count the number of days in a month or in a year. So here the base is 0, which is denoted 30-day month and a 360-day year. Other option will be 1 and it is an actual, that means a 365-day year with 28 days in February for a non-leap year and 366 days with 29 days in February for a leap year, and others also like that. So this function will be work like that. Here we have to calculate the received value for an investment of $1,000, and the security or the settlement date here is 1st of April 2005, and the maturity date or the expired date is 1st of March 2010 with a discount rate of 4.5%, and here US NSD 30 by 360 day count basis is used, which is the default value, so we can omit it. So how to calculate received value? First, select the cell, type an equal sign, write the function received, then pass the argument. First is the settlement date. Also, it is noticed that in Excel, the dates are not typed directly into the function. Into this Excel, date function has to be used. We cannot calculate, we cannot pass this argument directly. We have to convert it and pass it using date function. So first type date function, left parenthesis. So here's the settlement date is 1st of April 2005. So year is 2005. Month is the April, that means 4th, and day is the 1. Then close the function, comma. Second argument of received function is the maturity. So I again write the date function, passing first the year, which is 2010, the month is March, that means 3, and the day is 1st. Okay, then comma, then the investment here is of 1000, and discount here is 4.5%, and basis is default value 0, so we can pass or leave it not affected the function. Then put the right parenthesis and enter. So this is the value for a received function. And also next function we have is the XPV function. This function returns the net present value for a schedule of cash flows that is not necessarily periodic. That means this function returns the net present value of an investment based on series of cash flows. Okay, the dates of the cash flows and a discount rate. So here's the original formula of X and PV. Here it will be calculated like this: sum of I equals to 1 to n pi divided by 1 plus rate to the power di d1 by 365, where di is the last payment date, d1 is the zeroth payment date, and pi is the last payment. But in Excel, we have to just pass three arguments for X and PV function. First one is the rate. It is the discount rate to apply to the cash flows of the investment. Values is the series of cash flows that correspond to a schedule of payments. The series of payments must contain at least one negative and one positive value. And the third argument is the dates, the schedule of payment dates that correspond to the cash flow payments. Okay, so we have an example of this function. Here are the dates of investment and values here. First is the initial investment, so it is written in minus. And also in Excel, the investment or the initial investment is written, or the negative value is always written in parentheses. It is written in minus sign because it is an initial investment, and the other values are this. So here is the annual discount rate of 5%. So we can calculate net present value by just selecting the cell, type an equal sign, select the function x and pv, and pass the argument. First one is the rate. Here is the 5% which is in the cell E5. Then type an comma sign, then pass the values from initial investment to the end, from E7 to E12. Type in comma sign, then pass the references of dates cell from D7 to D12. Okay, so this is the amount of XMPV function. So that's how these all functions work. If you have any queries, you can ask me or comment me. And if you like my video, then thumbs up. Thank you.